In this first topic, we're going to be looking at simple interest and how to calculate it. Now, a key part of calculating simple interest is knowing how to convert a percent into a decimal. So let's try these questions at the top. So let's multiply 500 times 2.5% times 3. So in order to multiply a percent, you need to change it to a decimal. And how we do that is we take the decimal point and we move it over 2 decimal places. So then a 0 would go here. So the decimal of 2.5% would be 0.025. So in your calculator, you're going to do 500 times 0.025 times 3, and you should get 37.50 or 37.5 or $37.50. So I put this last 0 here because we're writing it as a dollar amount. So in the next one, we have 1,000 times 3% times 35 over 365. So just remember in this one, again, we're going to convert this to a decimal. So here we'll fill that in. That would be 0.03. And then when you plug this into your calculator, remember that this line means divide. So you're going to do 1,000 times 0.03 times 35 divided by 365. So here, I'll write that for you down here. So after you plug that into your calculator, you should get $2.88. So when dealing with interest of any sort, it is important to know what interest is. So here it says you can invest money and earn interest on it. So for instance, I could invest in a company and give them $1,000, and then they're really happy because they get to use my money. So in return, the company will give me a small amount of money back. So they'll say, okay, I will give you 1% of your $1,000 that you invested. So then I make $10 from the investment. So then later, if I wanted to take my money back from the company that I invested, I would get that $1,000 plus that 1% interest that they gave me as a thank you for investing for them. So really, I would get $1,010 back. Now, that is just an example of it. Here, we're going to be looking at how to calculate interest and how much interest you will earn on an investment. So this here is a very important formula. I is equal to PRT. And what that means is I stands for interest is equal to the principal amount. So the principal amount means the initial amount that you start with times the interest rate. So that would be R. And then times the amount of time in years. And I'll put that there in years that you are planning on investing. So interest is equal to the initial amount or the principal times the interest rate. And that would be percent as a decimal, and then times the time in years. So let's just look at this example. David is a sprinkler system installer. He invested $1,500 or $1,500 in a guaranteed investment certificate for 2 years. The interest rate is 2.5%. How much interest will David earn? So the important thing we need to look at here is the principal amount or the initial amount. So that would be this. That would be the principal or the P. This here would be the time because that is 2 years that he's investing it for. And then the interest rate is the R, which is 2.5. So let's use that formula we just looked at to calculate how much David will earn. So we have I is equal to PRT. So let's plug in our principal amount. So we said the initial amount or the principal amount is 1,500. And we're going to multiply that by the rate as a decimal. So the rate is 2.5%, but as a decimal, that would be 0.025. And then we're going to times it by the amount of years. So it says 2 years, so we're going to times it by 2. So in your calculator, you're going to do 1,500 times 0.025 times 2. And you should get $75. So David will earn $75 in interest over those 2 years. Now, moving on to the next part, it says to calculate the total amount of an investment, use this formula. So the amount, A, is equal to the principal amount plus the interest earned, or in other words, the initial amount plus the interest earned. So if we were to do that in the previous example, so I'll point an arrow up here. Oh, it doesn't let me. There we go. We would take the initial amount, so A is equal to P plus I. The initial amount is $1,500, and then we would add that $75 interest to it. So in total, we would get $1,575 for the amount. So we're going to do that in the next example. Robin is a motorcycle mechanic. She is saving for a new helmet. Robin saved $600. She invested it for 6 months in a GIC. The interest rate was 1.5% per year. How much money will Robin have to buy the helmet? So how much interest will Robin earn on her GIC? So again, we're going to use our formula. I is equal to PRT. So we have the interest is equal to the principal times the interest rate times the time in years. And the interest rate is as a decimal. So let's see. The initial amount we have this time is $600. So I'm going to put that right here as the principal amount. Then the interest rate is 1.5%. So we're going to switch that to a decimal. So 0.015. And then finally, the time. Now, this one is a little bit trickier than the last one because remember, the time has to be in years. But she only invested it for 6 months. So it wasn't a full year. It was 6 out of 12 months. Here they kind of set up a fraction for us. But another way that we could look at that is, what is 6 divided by 12? That would be 0.5 years. So in your calculator, you're going to do 600 times 0.015 times 0.5. And you should get 4.50 as the interest, or $4.50. Now in part B, it's asking what is the amount Robin will have in 6 months. So that's the formula that we looked at the top of this page. So the amount is equal to the principal plus the interest. So the initial amount she had was $600, and we are going to add $4.50 to that. So the total amount she will have is $604.50. In example 2, Sue is planning a trip to the United States. She invested $5,000 in a U.S. foreign currency term deposit. So here would be the principal amount. The annual interest rate is 0.5%. The deposit matures in 120 days. So what that means is she is going to invest it for 120 days. How much money will Sue have for her trip? So again, we're using our formula. I is equal to PRT. So the principal amount is $5,000. The interest rate is 0.5%, so careful when moving this to a decimal. We're going to move this 2 places over, so the decimal would be 0.005. And then the time, again, we have to write the time in years. So this time they gave it to us in days, so we're going to have 120 out of 365 days because there's that many days in a year. So in your calculator, you can either do 5,000 times 0.005 times 120 divided by 365, or we can convert this to a decimal just like we did in the last question with the 6 divided by 12. So in my calculator, I'm going to do 120 divided by 365. So if I put that in my calculator, 120 divided by 365, I get 0.33. So another option for your calculator is 5,000 times 0.005 times 0.33. And in the end, the interest you should get is 8.22 or $8.22. And in B, it says, what is the amount Sue will have in 120 days? So again, we're going to take the initial amount, that's $5,000, and we're going to add the interest to it. So that's $8.22. So in the end, Sue will have $5,008.22 for her trip.